If you look closely at new apps and websites today, you'll notice a strange visual homogenization. As AI tools raise the baseline of acceptable design, they also flattened originality, leaving creators stranded in an endless, identical landscape of generic interfaces. Most founders fall into a specific trap. They type a simple instruction into an AI builder and get a highly polished, beautiful landing page on the very first try. But as soon as they try to build out the rest of the application, they hit a wall called design drift. The AI loses the thread of that initial style, and the cohesive layout fractures into mismatched elements and scattered UI elements. When you just copy a prompt, you have no leverage to fix this drift. You don't know the actual ingredients the algorithm used to make its decisions, leaving you without the vocabulary to adjust the spacing or correct the typography. Raw coding and basic layout generation are now commoditized. If anyone can spin up a functional web page in seconds, the only defensible asset you have left is your curated taste. In a marketplace flooded with instant digital products, a brand moat is the specific visual identity preventing users from instantly scrolling past your work. Raw AI outputs pull directly from statistical averages. By definition, they produce the most predictable result possible, resulting in a hollow aesthetic that users instinctively recognize and reject. To survive this baseline of sameness, you must stop operating as a passive consumer of pixels and actively systematize your own human taste. Training your design taste involves treating your eye like an algorithm that needs highly specific training data. You have to deliberately immerse yourself in specific niche applications. You study the makers in your field, analyzing exactly why a certain interaction feels smooth, or why a specific color palette holds your attention. Whenever you find a compelling design in the physical world or online, you capture it. You build a dedicated vault, a second brain, filled with exact references and layouts to draw from later. If you rely on broad, generalized inspiration instead, the AI will inevitably default right back to the most overused tropes of the decade, like the ubiquitous purple gradient. Curating a hyper-specific library of references acts as your primary defense against the algorithm's homogenized defaults. But having good taste in a private vault doesn't build a product. How do you actually translate human intuition into mathematical instructions the AI can execute? You use a Design.md file. This blueprint is a text document with structured tables dictating exact color hex codes, typography, and spacing. Attaching this file replaces the AI's statistical assumptions, forcing the generator to adhere to a unified system derived from your taste. Because the core DNA of the aesthetic is isolated in this single document, you can apply it anywhere. You can feed that exact same file to a slide generator, a motion graphics tool, or a mobile app builder, and the visual identity remains perfectly intact. Relying on a random text prompt is hoping for a lucky accident. Anchoring your project to a Design.md file is how a master executes a deliberate, replicable brand identity. Once that foundational blueprint is locked, you need to add specific micro-interactions. In this workflow, these are called skills, modular prompt ingredients layered on top of the base design. For instance, applying a skeuomorphic skill forces the AI to abandon flat geometry in favor of realistic, tactile elements with rich shadows and lighting. By actively collecting these skills, you naturally learn the underlying vocabulary, terms like font smoothing or system font. Knowing the exact terminology empowers you to command the AI with precision, stopping it from making automated micro-decisions for you. The actual uniqueness of the brand emerges when you stack these prompts. You combine a skeuomorphic interface with a WebGL skill to add complex, interactive 3D animations. These specific stacked instructions elevate the project. They transform a creator from a passive consumer of AI outputs into an active director sculpting the final experience. Armed with a strict design system and a library of skills, the actual job of building a product shifts. You spend almost no time generating the initial layout, and all your time remixing it. There is a persistent myth that an AI-driven workflow requires less human effort. The reality is that reaching a high standard requires significantly more rigorous, demanding work. To actually achieve craftsmanship, you have to obsessively adjust the details. You tweak the padding, adjust the hex codes, and refine the animations through hundreds, if not thousands, of manual micro-iterations. If you skip this manual refinement, the end user will notice. The cracks always show when a digital product lacks the friction of human care. Authenticity arrives as the product of relentless human iteration applied to machine generation. Curate a vault of specific niche references, systemize that inspiration into a rigid Design.md file, and direct the final output by stacking precise, modular skills. When anyone can launch a functional application in an afternoon, the battle for a user's attention is won entirely on the margins of visual quality. You architect a defensible brand moat block by block, using your own taste as the